guys help. I'm stuck in a cave. I don't know. I don't know how I got here. Just kidding. JK. JK, as the kids would say. I'm not in a cave. I'm actually in the Education and Human Services building at CMU, Central Michigan University, which is where I graduated my first time, my undergraduate degree. I came here and I studied child development, and I waited until today to record this week's video because the whole thing plays into it. So, okay, follow me. Ready? CMU is where I got my start in my job, but my message for you guys this week was, it kind of ties into all of this, because at CMU was the first time that I actually had the ability and the freedom to be who I am, or to at least start to figure out who I am, who I really am at my core. Not who I pretended to be for so many years, not who I showed the world who I was because that's what I thought I had to do, or what they wanted to see, and how I would be accepted and loved and all those things. For those of you that are sitting here watching this video, a lot of you know my backstory, and you know, when I was your age, I had to put on a different persona, right? I had to be somebody else, and inside I was really, really hurting, and I was depressed and lonely and scared and anxious and suicidal at times, many times. And it wasn't until I came here, and I'm about to go speak to a class of, he's now a good friend, but at the time he was my very first professor when I got here to CMU. He was teaching a family studies course, and it was the first time in my life, that I had ever heard a man speak about the role of a father and a husband in the way that he was. I had seen, obviously my example was really, really poor, and then I had seen other examples along the way, but they didn't really give me what I needed to be who I was and support who I was at my core. I'm going to keep saying at my core because I'm also going to come back to that term in a little bit. But anyway, I just started crying. And I tell him this every time I talk to his class, or if I see him, or if we're texting back and forth, whatever. I remind him, ha ha ha, I remember when you made me start bawling in your class, because he did. It touched me so deeply because it reminded me, wait a second, I can be comfortable with who I am inside. I don't have to be somebody else and put on a facade and try different personas in order to gain acceptance. Really what's important is, am I being true to me? Am I living who I am at my core? And I'm that's who I am now. It took me a lot of years to learn that, though. It took me a lot of years to be able to be comfortable with that, because in your life right now, at your age, the way your development goes is that, you have this, who you are as a person, and you're kind of testing it out against your friends and teachers and coaches and parents and foster parents and grandparents, and you're getting feedback from them, good or bad, and the way they react to you, who you are, is kind of how you form your true self-identity and who you are at your core. Now, for those of us that didn't have a good, supportive set of parents or caregivers or role models to help us be comfortable first with who we are, but then to be able to go out in the world and explore that with different sources and then get that feedback, we were never able to form and be comfortable with a true identity. We've been stuck with the identity that we just keep trying in hopes that somebody will love us and accept us, right? Think about that for you. Are you living who you are in your heart, or are you living who you think other people think you are, and all these perceptions and all these assumptions? We got to think about that, because now's the time in your life. It really is. And if you want to talk more about this, I could talk about it all day long. I get really excited because even at 42 years old, I'm still now coming into like, oh yeah, dude, like that's who you are as a person. And you don't have to be somebody else all the time. You don't have to be on all the time. And the things that we put pressure on ourselves, or we feel people put pressure on us to be, just be you. Be who you are at your core. I did a couple cheesy videos while I was working out yesterday and I was working on my core, right? Like my midsection. But really, that is our stable. That's what's center to us. That's what keeps us upright. And that's the same thing for our personality. That's the same thing for who we are as a person. It's just as important. It's more important, as a matter of fact. I'm going to not say that having good abs is more important than being your true self. So I really want to challenge you guys, and we got to talk about this. We got to talk more about this, because I feel like a lot of us in our situations, and I can probably speak safely for all of you, right? There are times where you definitely, more often than not, are feeling like people aren't seeing you for you, right? They're seeing you for what they read on paper. They're seeing you for these questionable or bad moments that you had, or bad decisions, or they're seeing you for, the things that happen to you, and labeling you. But that's not who you are. And I know that because I've talked to all of you guys about this. Most of you guys. Some of you are new. Some of you are seeing this for the first time. And some of you are wondering when I'm going to wrap this video up, because I'm at 6 minutes. But this is an important one, you guys. I've been thinking about this so much, and I actually did a paper on this for my counseling master's degree that I'm in right now. It really opened my eyes, and actually was more helpful to me than most of the things that I've done in my career, any of my education or experience, because it really helped me think back to like what was going on in my life between the ages of, we'll say, 10 and 20. Did I have the opportunity to be genuinely me and show people, and then they were like, yeah, you're good, man, you're a cool guy, I accept you? No, I was having to live pretty much a lie. Because I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, and all the things that I said before, right? So I had to be Mr. Happy, good times, super tough athlete guy, Mr. Popular, smiling all the time. That's not real life, man. And it's definitely not who I was during that time. I was in need of some support, so I could really be comfortable with who I was and be seen for just more than what's on the outside. I could go on forever about this, but I won't, because I'm at 7.5 minutes, and you guys are sick of hearing me blab. So here's the thing, right? And you guys know I always wrap up with the same theme, is you likely, to this point, have been in a cycle. You've been in a cycle of being identified as, this, that, or the other thing, none of which you believe at your heart, at your core, who you really are. So take a moment. Think about, are you living your true self? Are you showing people who you really are? If not, why? And if you are, what do we need to think about? If it's not being received well, how do we evaluate ourselves? How do we go, okay, I gotta take a step back, and am I coming off the right way? Am I saying the right things? Do I respond with anger rather than using just words to try to explain myself? There's some adjustments that we can make, and I hope that this helps you start to think about that, so you can make those adjustments sooner than I did. It took me a lot longer. It's, I'm still coming into that form. I want to get this message to you guys, though, so you don't have those hard years, so you can start to be confident and comfortable with who you are, and know that you're loved and accepted for who you are. So ultimately, what I want you to do is I want you to break a cycle. You knew I was going to get there. You knew I was going to say break the cycle. For those of you that have been here for a while, I know you're rolling your eyes. If you're new and watching this video for the first time, look around, because you're going to hear that term a lot, because we're cycle breakers, baby. That's what we do.